For the past decade, nearly every vehicle made for American roads has been equipped with tools used for mass surveillance. The collected data has been used to hike your insurance premiums, estimate your intelligence, and empower stalkers and domestic abusers' ability to track and control their victims. There are up to 200 million of these surveillance vehicles in use today, including those made by these companies shown here. They collect, share, and sell so much more data than what you would expect. Using the Privacy Visualizer tool I developed a couple years ago, you can see that these companies are not only competing with companies like Google, they're outright surpassing them. Data extraction starts before you even have a vehicle. When you're looking online at cars that you might want to buy, that data is collected and shared with car companies, who will then pay to show you ads of their cars so you'll be more likely to buy theirs. This is pretty normal behavior on the internet these days, and really none of this data on its own can be used to directly identify you. When you start using platforms like Google or YouTube to look up reviews on the latest Honda CR-V, Google isn't telling Honda that you specifically are interested in that car. Rather, Google tells Honda, hey, we know who is interested in your cars, so if you pay us, we'll show them an ad for your car. Google actually never hands over any information about you. When you visit the websites of these companies, they'll be able to collect some information about you through cookies and your IP address, but again, that's normal website behavior. I would hardly consider any of that invasive data collection. When you do purchase a car in any way, you are required to register it with the state that you live in. This process collects your name, address, and identification for the vehicle itself. This information gets collected by these car companies, and this is the first source of information where they're more able to directly identify you. There is a reason, though. If the car company needs to issue a recall, then obviously they need to be able to directly contact you to inform you. This is how they manage to do that, even if you buy the car outside of a dealership. If that was all the data that was being collected, I wouldn't be making this video. Unfortunately, now we have to look at all of the other data. When you look through these privacy policies, you'll notice a strange trend. They call out things like inferred intelligence, what medications you take, and even if you're predisposed to certain behaviors, like if your family has a history of alcoholism. If you're anything like me, you might be wondering how on earth they collect that data at all. Each of these policies state that they collect information from vague third-party sources, but a majority of these policies actually specify that this includes data brokers. Now, for some clarity, some of this makes sense. When you purchase a car from a dealership, they will go through credit monitoring data brokers and sometimes risk mitigation data brokers to check if you're favorable to give a loan to. If your credit history implies that you won't make your payments, then they won't give you a loan for the car. Where things get weird is the lack of clarity. People search services do technically host public information about you, and these companies do claim to collect that. They would also have a heck of a hard time getting information about what medications you buy over the counter without the assistance of a personal health data broker. If you want to learn more about what kinds of data brokers there are out there, check out this video I made last year. But what if you bought a used car? Well, they still collect plenty of invasive data from the car itself. These things have been riddled with a wide array of sensors, some of which are for tracking the health of the vehicle itself, such as oil pressure or battery levels, but as we'll see, a lot of these sensors have a creepier vibe. Let's take a look at the Jeep Grand Cherokee. On the outside of the vehicle, there are a few things to identify. There are several radar sensors and cameras all around the car, which are used to detect the presence of objects in their functional areas, like people walking by, cars approaching when you're leaving a parking spot, blind spot detection, automatic braking, and adaptive cruise control. Then, if we hop inside, we'll find yet another array of cameras. These ones back here point down at the back seats, sold as a monitoring system for your children. So this, mixed with the outside cameras, gives a full 360-degree view of both the inside and outside of the vehicle. Some cars, such as the Toyota Camry, offer a face detection system used to identify the driver. This is sold as a system to detect that you're keeping your eyes on the road. Keep this in mind, as it's going to come up again later. There is also an array of microphones inside the car for things like taking calls and hands-free navigation. But some of these policies call out that these microphones are always listening, like Ford, which of course, they use for advertising. Tesla vehicles have microphones on the outside as well, which when combined with cameras, offer a live feed of the vehicle to the owner. Now, There's one microphone that was integrated for a good reason, at least at first. Back in 2008, General Motors started integrating a system they started as a little side project called OnStar. The idea was that if you get in an accident or if your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, you could push this button and it would instantly contact emergency services for you. It would also provide information about your car, like the make and model, and it would even share your current location. This, of course, was an incredible safety feature, and it would quickly be installed into every vehicle General Motors offers, and they would even start licensing it out to other car companies as well. If you are hurt in an accident, OnStar will collect information about your active health status, which would explain phrases like medical intervention in their privacy policy. They even decided to make it free for the first 10 years you own the vehicle. What a generous group of people. There are certainly no red flags there at all. Like I said, it started off as a good thing, but OnStar is probably the best example of integrating a safety feature that would later go on to be wildly abused. General Motors is in the middle of yet another class action lawsuit regarding the selling of information by OnStar systems without user consent. Of course, this isn't really new for them, as they've been caught in dozens of lawsuits for constantly lying to everyone about their data collection practices since as early as 2012. Then, there's information about the rest of the vehicle, the weight of the person in the seats, the position of the windows, when the doors are locked and unlocked, the mileage of the vehicle, the duration of your trips, the precise location of the car thanks to GPS, what radio station you're listening to, what devices are connected, how and when you use the infotainment system, when you're talking on the phone, what times you drive, the pressure applied to the pedals, whether you're speeding or driving too slow, using your blinkers, and how aggressively you turn the steering wheel. Every time we talk about data collection, even if some of it makes sense, it's important to remember that collected data has a destination, intentional or not. There are three major places that get your data from these car companies that I want to discuss. Insurance companies are by far the most famous from what I can tell. Your usage data is a very common source of data that insurance companies will use to justify an increase in your rates. Remember that face detection feature I talked about? Insurance companies love that kind of data, as now they can directly see every time you take your eyes off the road. They want to know when you push the gas pedal too quickly, if you turn too hard, if you drive late at night, if the car needed to automatically brake, every time you accidentally drift out of a lane, how often you drive your car and how far you drive, and even sensitive personal information like your education level. Normally, if a business is racking up their prices and obtaining this much information about you, you'd have the option to just go somewhere else. But you legally can't avoid these insurance companies. Back in the early 1900s, most people had never driven a car. When they decided to purchase one, they started crashing into everything, because of course they did. So, in 1927, Massachusetts passed the first law requiring drivers to have an insurance policy. The idea was that drivers would have some financial stake in the matter, encouraging them to drive safe to save money. This quickly spread across the entire country, and soon enough, it was illegal to operate a vehicle without some car insurance. As time has gone on, these companies have worked together to make as much money as possible. Cars eventually started being able to track data for diagnostics, which included the pressure being applied to the pedals, the speed of the car, the duration of trips, and timestamps attached to each of them. Insurance companies were quick to offer free little plugs for your car so you could save money if you were a safe driver. Though, as it turns out, most people believe they are a safer driver than they actually are. According to a consumer affairs survey, 1 in 4 people admit to using their phone while driving. 80% of drivers believe that speeding is completely safe. Guess who really wants to know that information more than anyone? Your insurance company. As more and more people started putting these trackers on their cars, our rates slowly went up. Car companies knew that this data was being collected by the car itself, and so they started offering to sell this data directly to the car insurance companies, and here we are today. You don't really see these free trackers very often anymore, do you? Data breaches are also incredibly common for these companies. In fact, every single car company shown here has had one data breach within the last 2 years, and they've combined impacted 23.6 million people. That is 1 in every 15 people living in America who got their data breached just from using their car. It's my opinion that these companies do not value your privacy whatsoever. These constant data breaches are not good for their customers, but they continue to put zero effort into preventing them. Information like your name, phone number, address, social security number, and all of the information we've looked at in this video is freely available to scammers, who abuse the information from these data breaches to steal an eye-watering $1 trillion from Americans every single year. Some of these data breaches were so bad, you could simply search for a license plate number and find out everything about the owner of that car, along with the current precise location of the vehicle. This kind of data breach has happened multiple times, impacting Kia, Lexus, and Toyota vehicles. And you'll never guess what kind of person loves this sort of data. That's right, it's domestic abusers and stalkers, which is the worst destination of your data. But that doesn't come from just data breaches. It also comes from the features that are offered by these vehicles. The connected apps offer a full 360 view of the vehicle at all times, and some offer a view of the inside. They'll tell you the exact location of the vehicle. They'll provide information if the doors are locked or not. The article surrounding the abuse of this data is incredibly haunting. One of these articles was published back in 2019. A woman who worked in the technology industry had her ex-boyfriend use the very technology built into these vehicles to stalk her. He didn't use any third-party tracking devices. He did all of his tracking using the functions of the vehicle's companion app. The article goes on to describe that he had been tracking her every move for an extended period of time. A notebook recovered by police from the man's home contained the victim's personal details, including the dates of training courses she was planning to attend, and a list of places, including businesses, she frequented. One night, she woke up to find him standing over her at the foot of the bed. He had used all of the detailed information about her use of the vehicle to know when she would be home. In the court case, she said the following.
I was in shock and fear for my life when I realized he was stalking me and had control of my car. These crimes have made me feel unsafe, made me fear the technology I once embraced, and left me with a deep distrust of the cybersecurity protections and laws currently in place. Now, I know they can be exploited.
This is not exclusive to just this woman. There are countless examples of articles I found of stalkers and domestic abusers using the data collected from just a car against their victims. Cars should not be able to enable these kinds of situations. That seems like a no-brainer to me, but these car companies have continued to add even more functionalities to these cars. Remember, that was back in 2019, before there were cameras inside the car. Imagine a situation where a domestic abuser is watching their victim unaware in the car while they drive around. These features can be so easily abused, and just recently, 3 states decided to try to do something about it. California, Louisiana, and New York have all passed laws to protect the victims of domestic abuse. This has forced every single one of these companies to provide an easy way to opt out of all of this remote access, which is not only amazing to protect people, but it's also proof that this is possible for the rest of us. I'll note that these systems are far from perfect in their current form. They require court documentation to prove that you're in an abusive relationship. This is an issue, because only half of all domestic abuse cases are actually reported, and as you may know, many police departments do not take this seriously. However, these laws are certainly a step in the right direction. If you are in one of these horrible situations, you actually have a way to get out of this data collection. I'll have links in the description for every car company's opt-out forms. For the rest of us, Toyota actually has a handy page on how you can opt out of these features, which I will link below. As much as I hate to give them a win, Tesla makes all shared data opt-in rather than opt-out. You should always check the settings in your car and companion apps to see what privacy settings you can change. Not all companies offer the ability to delete your own information, though. Before you start thinking you can use services like Incogni, let me be very clear. Data deletion services do not engage with these kinds of data brokers at all. And if you've seen a sponsor saying that they do, they're just lying. When a creator brings up a data broker in a sponsor segment, Incogni doesn't always validate if they are actually able to handle those data brokers. Several creators have brought up how car companies have sold your information, but Incogni only works with people search services, and car companies aren't people search services. These claims make their product appear to be more valuable, and their marketing department doesn't seem bothered at all by these inaccuracies. That is insanely sketchy to me, and I hate saying it because a ton of creators do this by mistake. Of course they don't know. The company isn't telling them what their product is actually capable of. They've convinced everyone that they're better than they really are, which was the entire point of my video about them last year. Speaking of which, I do have a quick correction for that video. If you live in California, the state now offers a better version of this service for free. If you pay for one of these data deletion services like Incognito, Delete Me, Aura, and many others, you are actually throwing away your hard-earned money. As always, I'll have links in the description. Please stop paying for them. California has actually been one of the greatest sources of proof that laws and regulations do actually make a difference with these car companies. If you pay attention to the historical versions of these privacy policies, you'll notice that they all started to be way more transparent in 2020, and that was thanks to the California Consumer Privacy Act. Regulations like this have started to spread across the country, and if you live in any of these states, you have the right to delete your personal information from these companies. In Europe, the GDPR has also forced many of these companies to build privacy settings directly into the vehicles themselves. I've invited friend of the channel, Fami, to tell us more.
The GDPR is far from perfect, and stuff like the digital omnibus and chat control are threatening our privacy in the future. But right now, the law seems to be working, and it's not hard to find examples of how it's protecting people across the European Union. Starting with the Netherlands, where Tesla has been forced to change how their Sentry mode works. Now, the recordings are not turned on by default. Sentry mode can only record up to 10 minutes at a time, and it has to clearly show people around the car that it's recording. It cannot do that stealthily, which makes sense. You shouldn't be able to record people without them knowing. In Sweden, Volvo was called out for taking 17 months to give technical and servicing data to a customer. That data is still personal data if it's connected to you in any way, and so that data has to be sent within 30 days. In Italy, the Privacy Garante fined Pioneer Hybrid 120,000 euros for tracking their employees driving, including in private journeys. In Germany, a logistics firm was saving GPS data from 55 vehicles for up to 400 days. The Hessian Data Protection Authority, I'm not even going to try to read that, ordered them to delete that data. The company sued them and they lost. In Luxembourg, 2,800 euros fine, that's pretty low, honestly, for GPS tracking in 92 vans. Fun fact, the company doing that allegedly was sharing one login credential across all employees. That doesn't sound safe or legal. I could keep going with new examples for hours here, and again, I'm not going to try to pretend the regulation is perfect or that when you're trying to build something, it doesn't get annoying, but it is there for a reason and it works for now. As Europeans, we shouldn't be taking any of this for granted. I'm very worried about child control and what these trends mean for the future of our privacy, but when it comes specifically to cars, car companies through the ACEA are already lobbying to change the privacy laws here, asking for less regulation and what they call proportionality, because they think that asking people for consent when their data is being recorded is too much, it's inconvenient. Why won't anybody think of the poor training data? A lot of money is being spent right now to convince you that it's worth giving your privacy away for your safety or for your kids' safety. That's bullshit. Most of the time it's either about money or control. Don't fall for it. Everyone should have the right to privacy, especially in their car. And I also want to remind everyone that, like, if you need a car and you don't want to be spied on by whatever tech is being forced on you inside of the car, speaking of which, the EU is about to do that more now. I hate this! You can get a Mark 1 Toyota Yaris, the car from What's This Dealer, for like 500 euros. It's gonna run on nothing, it's gonna be super cheap to maintain, and it's not gonna spy on you. Bonus points if you got a Yaris Verso. I love that car so much.
Regulations matter a lot, and since it's a midterm year, now is actually the best time to actually call your local representative and vote for people that actually represent your values. Most of my viewers are in the age group of people who tend not to vote. And the reason that everything feels so bad right now is because the only people voting are the people who got lead poisoning from licking their bedroom walls as children. Register to vote. It really doesn't take that many people to make a big difference. If you are considering buying a new car, I would recommend you consider buying a used car from before 2015. If you have an older car, please take care of it. We want these privacy-safe vehicles to continue to work for as long as possible, as regulations can simply just take time. Always read the privacy policies before you consider buying anything. If it feels creepy, then it probably is. If you live in a state or country that has real privacy protections, please continue to fight the good fight on behalf of all of us. Keep these gigantic, creepy corporations at bay. Keep showcasing that it doesn't need to be this way. Hopefully, we'll catch up. As always, please be kind and patient with each other. If you really liked what you saw, consider giving the video a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you really liked this video, You can join the amazing list of people right here who directly support the channel. For $1 a month, you too can get your name in the video, as well as early access to videos and exclusive live streams while I'm working on new things. Head over to patreon.com/projectconvenience to get those cool perks.
Way up, gotta get the pay up. Missed another day at the court like a layup. Super stripe on me with the layer record, super fire sweating, fuck I'm super hot. Finally got a fever out. Maybe it's the demon that's been stealing all my good ideas, or I'm lazy like a bad ideal. I'm a dog with the bone, grrr, obsessive, I gotta leave me alone, full stop. Marrow, throw me a ball at least. Fetch baby, pull on it tight the leash. I get intimate with